สวัสดีครับก็ขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่การไลฟ์ของ GENT Edutainment เป็นครั้งแรกนะครับก็วันนี้เราจะมาพูดคุยกันในหัวข้อเกี่ยวกับระบบการศึกษาการเรียนต่อที่ประเทศแคนาดากันนะครับโดยที่เรามีแขกรับเชิญพิเศษคุณ Symonds ซึ่งเป็น Director of International Programs จาก Detla School District ซึ่งเป็นเขตการศึกษาที่ใหญ่ที่สุดเขตหนึ่งนะครับในการรับเด็กต่างชาติไปเรียนต่อที่แคนาดานะครับเพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลาผมขอแนะนำคุณ Symonds ครับ Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening.
It's evening in Thailand. But what time is it right now, Karen, in British Columbia?
6:30 in the morning. That's why it's kind of dark around me. It's very dark outside still.
All right.
But good morning and thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for getting up early in the morning today. Okay. So, ในช่วงต้นนะครับเราจะมีการพูดคุยเกี่ยวกับระบบการศึกษาของแคนาดาก่อนนะครับเพื่อเป็น overview ให้กับผู้ปกครองแล้วก็อาจจะมีการเปรียบเทียบว่าแคนาดาระบบการศึกษาแคนาดากับอเมริกามันมีข้อแตกต่างกันยังไงบ้างนะครับและแต่ละรัฐอาจจะมีข้อแตกต่างกันอย่างไรบ้างนะครับแล้วหลังจากนั้นเนี่ยเราจะมีการให้ทางคุณ Karen อธิบายเกี่ยวกับระบบตัวเขตการศึกษาของเดลต้ากันนะครับ Okay, Karen, why don't we start with your presentation of the education system in Canada?Please go
Absolutely.
ahead.
You can see my screen, can you?
I do.
Excellent. Wonderful. So, as my lovely introduction, I am Karen Symonds, Director of International Programs in the Delta School District. So, the Delta School District is part of Canada, part of the province of British Columbia on the west coast of Canada, part of the city of Vancouver.I'm showing you this map first because this gives you a sense of the geography of Canada and that there are multiple provinces within the country of Canada, which will be important to what I share in a moment. So I am part of the province of British Columbia.
Nice. Please go ahead.
Okay. So studying in Canada, first of all, as the whole country, has great benefits. Canada has safe communities and schools, tolerant schools and communities as well. We believe in multiculturalism. We believe in inclusion. The curriculum, what is taught in schools, varies from province to province. So what is taught in my province is a little bit different than what is taught in Alberta, the province next to us. But the standards are consistently high. The OECD does tests every year on students around the world, and Canada ranks 4th in the world for the quality of education. By comparison, the United States ranks typically between 20th and 30th. Canadian teachers are well paid, well protected, and well respected. The high school diploma that students receive in all provinces in Canada are accepted at universities all over the world.Public education in Canada is of excellent value and excellent quality. In some countries, private school education is much superior to public school education, but that isn't the case in Canada. And the other thing about Canada is that there are many districts involved in providing education to international students. And so the level of competition means that international programs are of high quality as well. We even have bodies across Canada, across our province that protects the quality of education, such as our national body called CAPSI, Canadian Association of Public Schools International, and British Columbia has a provincial body as well, IPSI. So there are bodies that again monitor the quality of international education.across the country.
Thank you. Karen, so it means that in general, the quality of education of each state would be similar. And in terms of the curriculum itself would be similar. There might be a little bit different in each state. Is that correct?
Right. A little bit different. What you might learn in grade 10 in one province might be, part of the grade 9 curriculum in another province.Here in my province, in, for example, a history class, you would learn more history about our province. And in Alberta, you would learn a little bit more about history in Alberta. So there are some minor differences, but in the end, by grade 12, everybody gets to the same place.
Gotcha. And in terms of, you mentioned about public education, is excellent value and excellent quality. But there will be a few parents who would like to know that in terms of the private school and public school in Canada, the quality will be different, or do you think that it's going to be roughly the same standard anyway?
It's roughly the same standard. In private school and public school, teachers are trained the exact same way. My colleagues, when I went to university, could teach in public school or private school. The curriculum is exactly the same. Private schools must teach the exact same curriculum that is taught in public schools. They may have additional classes. They may be a religious private school, so there may be an extra class in religion. Private schools tend to have slightly smaller classes. By law, in public school, the classes can be no bigger than 30, but private schools might have classes of 18 or 20 students. So there will be some differences like that, but it's the same curriculum, it's the same standard in that way.
Thank you, Karen. Please move on.
Okay. So as I mentioned previously, each province is responsible for their own education system, but the educational ministers meet regularly, so there is consistency in terms of standards. There are more similarities than there are differences from province to province. Then within each province, there are school districts, or also called school boards. So in British Columbia, there are about 70 school districts. Delta is one of 70. And these districts or boards are operated by a combination of elected officials called school board trustees and people like me who are on the board of directors or the executive, and we're hired employees of the school district. And so our job is to oversee that the curriculum is delivered in a quality manner, but it also allows for some local attention to needs that may be different from location to location. And as mentioned, go ahead.
Sorry, maybe you finish your PowerPoint for this slide first.
Sure. And this is what we were just talking about, differences between private schools and public schools. Even in Canada, private schools do receive some public funding, but that is supplemented by tuition that parents pay.
So it may not be related with us because we are international students. But in terms of the Canadian students themselves, if they're going to the public school, does it mean that do they have to pay tuition to go to the school, or is free of charge because it's the welfare of the country?
Right. It's free of charge, we always say. Public schools are free to Canadian students. Of course, their parents are paying for that education through their taxes. So we pay taxes to the government, and then the government funds public education in Canada.
But Karen, in terms of if the Canadian parents would like to send the kids to go to private school in Canada, do they have to pay any supplement or extra?
Yes. So private schools do cost money for Canadian students. Yes.
I see. Okay, please move on.
Thank you. This is just an example of what a school district localized would do with the curriculum. So in our school district, there's a lot going on here. We have a vision of what Delta is going to be. Yes, it's the same curriculum as another school district. Yes, it's the same standard of teaching, but this vision that our school district created allows us to say, what values do we value as our district? What do we want our district to be like in teaching that same standard curriculum that all students in our province get?
Great. Okay. Please move on.
Okay. So the differences between the provinces. Each province has its own oversight authority over its education system. Each province will set out what courses are required to achieve a graduation. So that might be a little bit, Seth, one of the differences between British Columbia and Alberta. Alberta might say you need to have 1 science to graduate. British Columbia might say you need to have 2 sciences to graduate. Those kinds of minor differences. Each province gives out their graduation diploma. So that's something that sometimes parents overseas don't understand. They think that the diploma, the graduation certificate, comes from the school. It doesn't. There's an example here. No matter which school in British Columbia you go to, public or private, your graduation certificate looks the same because it comes from the province. In some provinces, you might have a Catholic school board, or you might have an English school board and a French school board. So that varies a little bit from province to province. In British Columbia, all school boards, there's one French school board that oversees French schools in the entire province, but all other school boards are English speaking, and we don't have religious school boards. But as I said, the similarities from province to province are larger than the differences. In the PISA rankings I mentioned earlier, Alberta, British Columbia, and Ontario score the highest, but really the standard of education across Canada is very, very high.
Karen, I have the question, in case that the student, for example, studying at Delta School District in British Columbia, right? And then they would like to go to the University of Toronto, which is in Ontario, I believe. Will that be any different, or will there be any difficulty in order to go there? No,
okay. The Canadian, across Canada, the diplomas cross over. Students have, again, very similar curriculum, so it's not like they go to math in university at University of Toronto and say, oh, I didn't learn this. That those similarities and standards are across the board. And it's very, very common and easy for students to get a high school graduation diploma in one province, go to university, as I said, in a different province, or go to university in the United States, or go to university in Europe, or go to university back in Thailand. It's a very, very widely accepted graduation diploma.
Gotcha, right. And I believe you are talking about the education system in Canada and USA, right? Comparing between a little bit, touch it.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Yes, please, go ahead.
So the Canadian curriculum is considered to be of higher quality, but it's also more standardized or consistent from school to school. My colleagues who work in the United States will say, my school has this curriculum, that school has this curriculum. So it's sometimes hard to compare. But again, across Canada, it's a very, very standardized, similar curriculum and very standardized quality. We do have courses. I know advanced placement is very popular in the United States. We do have schools that offer advanced placement curriculum, but it's not as common for students to take these programs in Canada because, again, the high school diplomas are well respected by universities around the world. I know a lot of universities around the world are seeing if you graduate in the United States, you need the AP curriculum to show a certain quality. That's not the case with the Canadian graduation. The US system operates on a GPA. 4.0 is the highest GPA, whereas the Canadian system uses a percentage. So you get a graduating average, 90% or 95%. We have less standardized tests in Canada. We don't have exit examinations, but the emphasis in Canadian school is on critical thinking, inquiry, communication skills. These skills we really use as adults, whether we're in the business world or the education world or politics or whatever we're doing as adults. It's more emphasis on real life skills, less emphasis on tests. Gotcha. Canadian schools tend to be safer, and Canadian universities do not require the SAT like American universities do.
Right. And it seems like AP is from the US, but many schools in Canada, including public or private schools, still offering AP as well, just in case that the students, when they finish the high school in Canada, in order to go to the university in US, is that correct? Is that the purpose of having
No,
AP?
they don't require AP courses if they're graduating in Canada to go to university in the United States. It's just an option that's out there. Advanced placement allows students sometimes to skip first-year university courses. That's appealing to some students. Some students, I taught advanced placement English when I was a teacher. Some students just like that extra challenge. So it really, that's the place of advanced placement curriculum in Canadian schools.
And Karen, AP might be some benefits of going to the university in the US. How about going to the university in Canada? Can they skip the credit? Can they earn the credits of AP in the Canadian university as well?
Yes, they can.
They do, okay.
Yes.
I see. All right, please move on.
Okay, and these are just these competencies, we call them in Canadian curriculum. There is the curriculum, there is the knowledge in each subject that you need to learn. In physics, you learn the physics knowledge. In history, you learn the history knowledge. But these in British Columbia, these are the core competencies that are themes, things that we want students to learn in any subject they're doing, whether it's academic or whether it's drama or music. We want them to have personal, social, and cultural competency, communication competency, and thinking competencies, because these are, again, the key skills they're going to need, that students need in life.
Yeah, when they grow up, right? Especially when they go to the university. So you prepare themselves in order to be ready to move on to be the adult students in the future.
Yes. Yeah. One of the comments my multicultural team says about students graduating in Canada, my Japanese staff, she very frequently says that she sees that students graduating from our schools are far more mature and prepared for university than students who are going to Japanese school are, because they have learned these competencies. And actually, many of our Japanese students, as an example, go back to school, to university in Japan, and they're very highly sought after by top Japanese universities, just because they have these skills that Japanese students aren't graduating from high school having. So these are adult skills that are really being fostered from a young age in Canadian high school and elementary school even.
I think you just touched something about the benefits of go to study high school in Canada. Do you mind if you wrap up a little bit about good things about Canadian education system, please? Yeah,
and this is some of the observations of the students. They say funny things sometimes about Canadian school, but the students say that education in Canada is far more hands-on and active. Participation is important. It's not just the teacher talking and telling them what the teacher knows. The students are building their own knowledge from inside. They say Canada school is easy because they have less homework. But sometimes when students first arrive, they think it's easy because they have less homework. But what they forget is that when a Canadian teacher gives homework, they're expecting a lot of thought to go into that. It's a synthesis of a whole bunch of learning. So it's not busy work. It's not memorizing. It's not worksheets. It's thinking work. Students need to take responsibility for themselves and their learning. The teacher might remind them once, do your homework. There is a test tomorrow, but they are not going to nag them. So students have to be self-motivated. Teachers are very approachable and kind. They're again, not like a teacher, more of a coach, helping that student develop their full potential. Even if students' English isn't perfect, kids find there's many ways to do well in school. Group projects, tests, speaking, learning, reading, writing, posters, artistic. There's many ways that students can show they know and understand things. Sometimes learning doesn't feel like learning. Sometimes kids say that learning is fun. We focus on deep thinking, informed opinions. Some students are very surprised in Canada that a teacher might say, "What do you think about that? What's your opinion?" And students get very worried. Is my opinion right or wrong? But it's not about whether the opinion is right or wrong. It's about how it's justified, how the student has thought through their opinion. The process in learning is sometimes more important than the answers. In Canada, we value diversity. we value equity, we value inclusion, and there's less emphasis on tests. The belief by Canadian teachers is tests only show how good you are at writing tests. It doesn't show necessarily how much you know or understand about a topic. So those are some of the benefits or what kids say about their Canadian education.
I'm not surprised at all, Karen, actually. We have just sent the students to Canada, and when all of them like Canada's high schools, they say that they don't have to study like 16 subjects per one academic year because you study only 8, roughly. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And also the teachers is approachable. Sometimes the teachers are being the teachers, being in the top, and then the students do not dare in order to ask for help. But in Canada, many teachers are approachable, being like a mentor or being like a coach, like what you mentioned, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is the reason why that Thai students, when they go to study in Canada, they really like it. And apart from not only the environment, but the classroom itself. May I ask one thing? How many students in one class normally, Karen?
Normally in our schools, it's about 26. Never any more than 30. In elementary school, it's less.
Right.
And special courses like ESL, it'll be a smaller class. Or a special course like a technology course or a shop class where there may be a safety concern would be smaller as well.
The other thing that I would like you to talk a little bit is about ELL or ESL class. That most of the school district in Canada create this kind of subjects in order to help the students. Can you touch a little bit about this subject?
So we call it ELL, English Language Learning. Some people know it better as ESL, English as a Second Language, but it changed names to ELL because we know that our students don't necessarily, English might not be their second language, it could be their third or fourth or fifth language. So in our district, we offer different types of ESL or ELL. We offer development ELL for new language learners, beginners. We offer courses in ELL for students to support their academic learning. That maybe their conversational English is good, but then they go to biology class and there's all sorts of new words for concepts they might already be familiar with. And so it helps them, the strategies class might help them learn new vocabulary. It might just provide a little extra support with a teacher helping proofread an essay or helping a student understand how to start a project if they don't understand the instructions. So it's sort of support for academic subjects. And then we also offer a third type of ELL called Excel that is helping kids catch up on specific language skills they need for literary analysis and high-level English classes to prepare them for university-level English. So we have a variety of different types for different needs. Some school districts operate ELL a little bit differently, that students have to be at a certain level before they join Canadian academic classes. Our district, we don't believe in that. We believe that students learn English faster by being immersed in a class with English speakers with some ESL on the side as needed.
Gotcha. Right. That's good for the basic English of students as well, just in case that they are not that high level. So sometimes as the counselor, we have to find the right district that can support the international students, and Delta is one of the most experienced taking care of international students, I believe. So what would be your recommendation when is the right age of the students that they can go to study in Canada?
Right. It partly depends on the goal of the parents. If the main goal is just to get some English language learning, we see some parents bringing their children at a young age, at elementary school age, for half a year or a full year or 2 years or even longer to learn English. So of course, the younger a student, the easier English language learning is. Of course, also the longer you're in an English-speaking environment, the more you retain that English as well. So sometimes, again, students come in elementary school if this is the main goal, or come for early high school if this is the main goal of English learning. If the main goal is graduation, again, of course, earlier is better, but the very latest students could arrive is in grade 11 to achieve all of the credits. We also encourage students to come a little bit earlier than grade 11 because it, again, gives them more chance to get their language skills to where they're needed for university. And it also allows them more choice in terms of courses they're going to take to develop their passions and skills and have a manageable course load and thrive both academically, but also in terms of their stress levels and their mental well-being.
Thank you, Karen. So for your suggestion from the slide, please correct me if I'm wrong. So grade 11 should be the oldest grade that they should join, right? Otherwise, they will not be able to graduate just in time.
Correct.
For international students, right? But the sooner the better for the students going there in order to adjust themselves in the new environment and also English improvement as well.
Yes.
Right.
In terms of university, there are benefits of coming earlier too, because if you're studied in Canada for a certain length of time, when you apply for university, you won't need to do an IELTS or a TOEFL, that they will just look at you as almost as if you are a Canadian student and no longer an international student. Whereas if you arrive in grade 11, then you have other English requirements to prove your English proficiency when you go to university.
Right. And there are a few parents and students keep asking me about in terms of transferring the grade, which grade or which GPA of the high school that the university will take into account in order to calculate the accumulated GPA?
Very, very good point. Good question. In Canada, it's grade 11 and 12. If students are applying to university in the United States, universities in the United States look at grades all the way back as early as grade 9. So oftentimes we're having to make special transcripts for our students going to the United States to show their grades in grade 9 and grade 10.
Oh, so it means that if the students are going to Canada, to states first, for example, in grade 11, so for grade 9 and 10, they will have to transfer the credits from Thailand. That's transferable, right? And you mentioned that for Canada, it's not 10, 11, and 12, but it's just 11 and 12. Is that correct?
It's 11 and 12. This is, again, tricky question. Universities look at grade 11 and 12. In our province, though, the graduation program has a transcript showing grade 10, grade 11, and 12. So universities are looking just at the marks of grade 11 and 12, but the marks from grade 10 do show on that graduation transcript. And so for our students who arrive in grade 11, there are some credits from grade 10 in Thailand that we are able to transfer over. So we transfer over math 10, science 10, social studies 10, physical education 10. And of course, if you've gone to school in Thailand all the way up to grade 10, you get credit for Thai 10, 11, and 12 automatically because we expected you are experts at your own language.
Gotcha. All right. We will not move to that point that much because it will be the responsibility of the school district to take care of this. But we normally send the students to the school district that is experienced in Thai students, in taking care of Thai students. So, for example, like Delta, you are pretty experienced in Thai transcript. So it would be great for you to talk a little bit about your school district so that the parents who are listening to our video or our live will be able to see how good Delta is and why Delta is pretty popular for international students, especially for Thai. Please.
Yes, certainly. So one of the basically Delta School District, I can divide up our benefits or why we are a popular school district into a couple of different categories. One is the location. Canada is a very broad country. It takes me 7 hours to fly from one end of Canada to the other. So we have many different regions with different personalities. Delta is part of Greater Vancouver. So we're part of the big city of Vancouver, but we aren't right downtown Vancouver. We are 30 minutes south of the center of the city and 20 minutes away from the airport. So it's a very convenient location. We're right on the US border. I keep hitting my slides forward. Right on the US border, very southwest corner of Canada. It is a nice, mild climate. Not as warm as Thailand, but we don't get tons of snow. We don't get down to minus 30 degrees Celsius. It tends to be a climate that is a little bit more tasteful, palatable to Thai students than the very, very cold. We maybe get snow once a year, so you get to experience that snow, but it tends to go away very quickly. So the location and the climate of Delta is very good. If we zoom in a little bit more, you can see that Delta has lots of open space. Delta is a very safe community. It's also quite a wealthy community, second highest household income of all of Vancouver, family-oriented, highly professional people live in Delta, lots of teachers, lots of people who work at the airport. So it's a very global-minded community. You can see here there's open space, so it's active community, people are out and about and doing things, so it really gives a great Canadian lifestyle. You can see here in Delta, the little black dots are our high schools and the red dots are our elementary schools. So we have 7 high schools and 24 elementary schools. We operate a program that we're kindergarten to grade 7, so 5-year-old to about 12-year-old in our elementary schools, and then grade 8 to grade 12. So 13 to 17, 18 years old in our high schools.
Karen, one quick question that I have is that how much is the minimum age of the international students can go to Delta?
So we have students in kindergarten. We actually have a Thai student coming with mom, coming to kindergarten next intake. But without parents, they can come as young as 10 years old.
10, okay, thank you.
Younger than that with parents. It takes about 20 minutes to drive from one end of Delta to the other. Delta has great recreational facilities. We've got the beautiful nature that people expect when coming to British Columbia. We go out into the ocean just off of Delta, and we have orcas and whales and seals. We have beautiful beaches, golf courses. We're close to the mountains, very safe streets. Again, the beach there, very close-knit communities. So Delta is a lovely place for people to live. And that's important to remember. Students are coming and attending school. But as I mentioned earlier, schools are very similar from one area of Delta or one area of the province to another. It's also finding a place to live that is a comfortable, safe place for parents to send their children. I live in Delta myself, and most of my staff do, which I think is a great endorsement. I don't live in another part of Vancouver and talk about how great Delta is. We actually live here. This is our community. I walk outside my door and I live in a suburban community, a family community. Oops, again, it keeps jumping forward. A family community, but I can be in the middle of this first picture in 5 minutes by walking, and I can be in the heart of a big urban center in 30 minutes. So it's the best of everything. So as I said, 30 minutes from downtown Vancouver, 20 minutes from the airport, 100,000 people live in Delta, upper middle class, high standard of living, very English speaking compared to some areas of Vancouver as well. So students are really immersed in an English speaking environment, mild temperatures, least rain in the Vancouver area, very safe and beautiful. So it is a great place to live.
Karen, because Delta is pretty large area, but in the north it's pretty close to Vancouver, and I believe that it's pretty convenient to go to Vancouver. And how about in the south? Normally, how can the students go to Vancouver? By? Very
easily. So as you said, here in North Delta, it's closer to Vancouver. There is what we call SkyTrain. It's like a subway, but it's above the ground. and it quickly takes you from here into Burnaby and other areas of Vancouver. This area here, Ladner, this is where I am sitting right now, and this is where also I live. There is a major bus loop, and you take the bus into Richmond for about 10 minutes, and then again, there's another SkyTrain that takes you here into downtown Vancouver. So it doesn't matter for me whether I drive or I take public transportation, which is very safe and clean in Canada, by the way. I can get from my home in Ladner to Vancouver in about 30 minutes.
Oh, that's good then. And how about in the south then, in Tsawwassen?
Yes. Oh, in Tsawwassen, so from Tsawwassen to Ladner is about a 10-minute bus ride. So it's sort of an extra 10 minutes than what you would do from Ladner.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It's close enough that you can go on the weekends, but it's far enough away that, again, it's very safe, and that during the school week, when students should be focusing on their studies, they can do that as well. We also have a big mall in Tsawwassen. Kids love the big mall.
It's the outlet, right?
Yes, yes. Tsawwassen Mills outlet.
Yeah.
So then there's the educational side. As I mentioned earlier, there are many school districts in British Columbia. This is the graduation rates after 5 years. So students arriving in grade 8 and staying till grade 12. This is the province average of graduates. And you can see that Delta's average is far above the provincial average. And we are always in the top 3 for graduation rates. If we change this number from 5 to 6, Delta has 100% of the students going to our schools are graduating in 6 years. So Delta students are coming to school, graduating, and then able to go on to university at a high rate. As mentioned before, we have short-term, long-term, and graduation and summer programs. The majority of our Thai students are coming to graduate, although there is some elementary students that come for 6 months or a year or 2 years and go home. But we also have 1-year programs, and we have some students from Thailand that also just come for a year of an immersion experience.
Karen, one quick question. How many Thai students have you got in your school district, roughly?
15.
Oh, just 15. And how many total international students that you are taking care right now? Roughly?
This year, we have about 500. Spread between our 7 high schools and our 24 elementary schools.
This is during COVID, right? And how about in the normal situation?
In a normal year, we're about 700 students.
Okay. Yeah. So the Thai ratio is pretty low, I think.
It's pretty low, yeah. To me, it's a nice ratio that in many of our schools, there are 1 or 2 other Thai students, so they're not on their own, but there is also the motivation to speak English. What I really aim for is a diverse international program. Remember, these are Canadian schools for Canadian students with no more than 10% international students. And I really want it to be, I don't know why we keep fast forwarding here. I really want it, now I'm going backwards. I really want it to be an international program. And you'll see in these pictures I show that these are all our international students. So you can see that they're coming from all over the world. Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, Germany, Italy, Brazil, Mexico, the Philippines, all over the world. These are our 7 high schools. They range in size from about 800 students to about 1,500 students. And then we have, again, 24 elementary schools. These are just 7 of those. We do have some specialty programs. We have some schools with French immersion, advanced placement, as I talked about earlier. We have the International Baccalaureate program as well, both in elementary school and high school. We have some elementary schools we call traditional schools, where it's uniforms. Because public school in Canada, there are no uniforms. And we do have some fine art and sport academies as well for students with a passion in a certain sport. We did have a Thai student a few years ago who was part of the golf academy. He loved golf, and so he was able to, in school, as part of his curriculum, take 2 courses in golf and have them show up on his report card.
And Karen, if they are joining the golf, does it mean that they will have the lesson in golf and practice, or they just join the school team as the co-curricular activities?
So we have many sports that are part of the co-curricular, the extracurricular activities. But again, some sports we do and fine arts, we also have special courses in that as well. Most students who are interested just do the extracurricular, but there are some, again, golf, dance, basketball, soccer, where you can also study that as a more intensive subject.
And do they have to pay any extra in order to join the golf classes?
So for the academies, there are extra costs. And there's also a little extra cost when students join a sports team as well, typically to pay for their uniform and transportation. But the academies certainly are a much higher cost than joining a sports team as an extracurricular.
Thank you.
I won't go into a lot of details about the different schools because this slideshow will be available for you after, but we do have schools. All the schools offer the standard curriculum, but each school has a different personality and maybe a teacher that's a real specialist at something. So when I work with Seth, he often sends me an email about a student and gives me a bit of information, and I say, that school is going to be perfect for that student. And so they all have their own personality. This is a smaller school that has a focus on STEM courses, on robotics. Every one of our high schools has an international coordinator in the school that is the daily support for the students. So they have someone right in the school that they can go to ask their questions, who's there specifically to take care of their needs right in the school. And so this is Ms. Yang. She looks like she's a student herself, but she first came to Canada as an international student. So she's very empathetic to international students and what they're going through and can really help them out. In contrast, Delta Secondary is one of our bigger schools. And here's an example of AP. Delta Secondary offers AP Calculus. Students who want to go to university in Ontario really like coming to this school because of this AP Calculus course. And again, Ms. Peters is over in the corner there, and these are all our international students. So you can see very diverse international student body. Delview, another smaller school. We had a teacher, actually she's from Thailand. Originally, her Thai background, she won a award from the Prime Minister for teaching excellence in science. And this is Mr. Pocock. He is the international coordinator at that school. North Delta School is a very energetic school with a lot of business courses. So again, business is an elective in all schools, but this school really focuses on business courses. And that's Mr. Platzer, the international coordinator there. Sands is a school that Seth is quite familiar with. He has a student there now who just emailed me a lovely email the other day telling me about what a great time he's having so far. And he had to play baseball in physical education and he didn't hit the ball the first day, but on the second day of class, he did hit the ball. So he was very proud of his accomplishments already and is really settling well at Sands. This is Mr. Khan. He's the international coordinator at Sands. Siaquam is a very high expectation school in terms of academics. It has the international baccalaureate program and very high academic expectations, but also a good sports and arts program as well.
Karen, may I interrupt one thing? For Siquam, you offer IB, right? Do you offer like Dogwood curriculum as well? Or
Yes, there is the Dogwood curriculum as well. It's not only an IB school, there's Dogwood curriculum.
Gotcha, thank you.
This is Mr. Glass. He's the international coordinator at that school. The school also has a great robotics program. The robotics team competes around the world in non-COVID times and has won awards in Texas and various places. South Delta Secondary School is a very popular school in a beautiful neighborhood. Lots of AP choices at South Delta. And you've already seen the video, so I'll fast forward through the video of the school. It was at the beginning. All of our schools offer more than 160 classes, ELL, international coordinators, international students from over 35 countries, extracurricular clubs, sports, and events. When students apply, they can indicate their first choice, second choice, third choice of school. But no matter which school you go to, you do have equal access to university after graduation because your diploma comes from the province, not from the school. And this is just a sample of what your day looks like in a Canadian school. Canadian school starts at about 8:30 in the morning, ends at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, with time for sports and clubs at the end of the day, homework, of course. We have this idea called flex in Canadian school. And what flex is that students have to go to one of their classes, but they get to choose which class they go to. So this is what I was talking about earlier about this emphasis on personal responsibility and self-motivation, that we expect students to make good choices about their learning. And in flex, go to a class where maybe they need a little bit of extra help as part of their day. This is the old-fashioned calendar, but in all of our schools, students get to download a school app where they have the app, they get messages from their international coordinator, they can see what food is being served in the cafeteria that day, they can text their teachers if they need some help. So all schools have a school app. And we talked a little bit earlier about graduation, that it takes a minimum of 2 years and that we can transfer credits from home country to school in Canada. We spend a lot of time helping students plan their path to university. We do a university fair every fall, and all of our students, we take them on a bus in a normal year to the university fair. Last year and probably this year, it's an online fair where students can sign up and do Zoom sessions like this with universities from across Canada and ask specific questions to international students and their applications. What scholarships are available for international students? What are the prerequisites? Do I need to do an IELTS or a TOEFL test? So by the time students are in grade 12, they should know where they want to go to university. And if they need it, part of the job of my staff is to help the students apply for university and apply for scholarships. This is Diana. She won a $100,000 scholarship to go to Simon Fraser University. We also have elementary programs. As I mentioned, elementary schools are very vibrant places of learning, but very warm and caring places as well. We have ESL in every elementary school. As I said, a caring environment, range of sports activities and events, and all students take music in grade 6 and grade 7. And we have an annual science fair. Again, very hands-on learning in Canadian schools, including elementary schools. And here's a bunch of elementary school students working on laptops. We do have an IB elementary school, some traditional schools, and Montessori schools as well. Delta has a strong academic reputation, very innovative programs, very high university acceptance rate for international students, 95%, and high expectations for students around attendance and work ethic. So our staff really monitor that students are going to school, they're working hard, and if they do that, the academic results will come. And of course, a high school graduation in Canada can lead you to access to universities across Canada and the United States. These are actually two of our Thai students. Alisara graduated in this picture, and her brother Kong, who was my golfer as well, he was in the one in the Golf Academy, graduated 2 years later. Alisara decided to go back to Thailand for university. whereas her brother stayed and went to BCIT, the British Columbia Institute of Technology, here in Vancouver. So the paths, the nice thing about a Canadian education is that the path leads you to many, many places. And the final point that I will talk about is our care for students, because this is also important. When a student is far from their home and their family, there needs to be extra supports there if they need it. Not all students need it, but some students sometimes need a little extra care and support during their time in Canada. So international coordinators in each school, ELL. Canadian teachers are highly trained. We need 2 university degrees, so all teachers are highly trained. We have a big district staff, 24-hour access to assistance, and orientations. And these are some students arriving for their orientation to get to learn something about Canadian school before it's full of Canadian students, learn how to open their locker, learn how the schedule works, make sure their courses are right, ready for graduation, all of those important skills. And in a normal year, we do an orientation field trip with students as well. And we have a handbook that prepares students in advance for life in Canada, and that's in Thai as well. This is my staff. So I am here. I am the director of the program. I am also custodian for students who study with us, which means I'm legally responsible for many students. Some students do have a private custodian, but I'm legally responsible for health and well-being of students in Canada. It's a responsibility I take very seriously. My 2 vice principals are Claire and Dean. They support students in their school, help them choose their courses, and work very closely with the international coordinators. We do run our own homestay program if desired or required. So private homestay is an option, but so is district homestay. And these are my 4 coordinators. And this is my homestay manager, Brent. And their job is to read the profile of the student, match the student with a home that's going to be a good fit for them. 90% of the time they get it right, but sometimes it's just not a good match in real life. And it's not a big deal. We help move students and we make sure that that match is right, because home life is so important. If students are happy in home, they're going to be happy in school. But if they're unhappy in their home, nothing about the experience is going to be right. So this part is very important. Homestay is private bedroom, private place to study, all their food, laundry, Wi-Fi, access to a homestay coordinator, easily facilitated moves, 20 minutes walk from school, and free airport pickup and drop off. This is different than boarding school, and I like homestay better than boarding school. Boarding school, you learn curriculum, you learn school. Living in a Canadian home helps improve English more and also helps you learn more about getting along in another culture, intercultural skills. Here are some pictures of homestays picking up their students at the airport. Such a warm welcome as well. Homestays are very, very carefully selected. Criminal record check, home visits. So we make sure that these are safe places for students to live. And these are students doing some great things with their homestay families. Again, that intercultural experience, making new family members, being part of a Canadian Halloween, maybe going fishing for the first time, baking cookies with friends, Thanksgiving dinner, the one snowfall a year, building a snowman. S'mores are a Canadian treat around a campfire. All of those things are important parts of being part of a Canadian home. And in a normal year, we do monthly sightseeing activities with our students as well. So again, they get out with friends to do some typical Canadian activities. These are optional, I know not every Thai student wants to go to the mountains and ski, but if they want to, we provide that opportunity. We do also have a summer program. This is often a very nice first introduction to studying abroad, coming for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, doing some ESL, doing some sightseeing, taught by BC certified teachers, and that happens in July and August. And do we have time for one video?
Yeah, one quick question. Apart from summer program that you're offering to for the short-term students, do you offer the summer term as well for the students who would like to enroll and study during the summer term?
We offer summer term for students who are here on a graduation path. So if the student is coming to graduate, we actually encourage them to stay during the summer, helps lighten their school load during the school year, helps them maintain their English skills. They will do a course for 4 or 5 weeks, go home to Thailand for 4 or 5 weeks, come back refreshed. So yes, we offer summer academic term as well.
Thank you. We have time, I think. 1 minute maybe.
Okay, this is a short video. This shows a student's experience at Delta Secondary School, and you can see some of the facilities at that school.
Hey, my name is Francisco. I'm from Mexico and I'm studying at the Delta School District. I always like science. The teacher is very nice, polite, and a great teacher. I like the physics part of science because I've always liked math. And I feel like physics gives a purpose to that knowledge in life. The culinary arts class is a very fun and useful class. It's fun because you're doing something interesting with friends, and it's useful because it prepares you for the future. I play the piano at the school's performance, and we were practicing for the school award ceremony. We've been practicing for like 2 weeks before the ceremony. We decided to play Bohemian Rhapsody because one day I was playing the main part of the song in the club and the teacher really liked it. He told me that he wanted to perform it with singers and drums. I enjoyed it very much. There are a lot of very talented singers and musicians at school, so it was a lot of fun. The school is very nice and well organized. And also the life that I have here is very different to the life that I have in Mexico. And I also think that in Delta, the weather is very good compared to other parts of Metro Vancouver. Right now it's the beginning of summer and the weather is so good. I have mixed feelings because I'm excited to see my family and my friends in Mexico, but I'm also sad because I made a lot of friends in Delta. Yes, it's a bit hard to know that the school year is almost over. I had an awesome experience here, and I think everyone should go through this experience. Thank you, Delta School District, for such a wonderful opportunity.
Karen, thank you so much for your information about the Canada overview. I believe that today the parents or the one who are looking to this clip or live session or the video later on will have the whole picture to make for them in order to make a decision whether they would like to go to Canada or not. But I think it's a pretty nice country, and the Thai students that I have sent there, they are all 100% happy actually.
Great. Well, thank you, Seth. We enjoy welcoming your students.
Thank you, Karen. So Karen, thanks again for today. Do you mind if I speak in Thai in order to wrap up and also to present for the next session as well?
Yes, no worries.
Okay, thank you, Karen. ก็สำหรับวันนี้นะครับหวังว่าจะเป็นข้อมูลที่การเปิดตัวที่น่าสนใจสำหรับข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับระบบการศึกษาของแคนาดานะครับก็จะเป็นข้อมูลที่ค่อนข้างอินไซต์เพราะว่าคุณแคเรนเนี่ยมีความคุ้นชินกับนักเรียนต่างชาติโดยตรงนะครับแล้วก็เป็นผู้มีประสบการณ์มากๆเลยนะครับรวมถึงกับนักเรียนไทยด้วยนะครับสำหรับในวันครั้งต่อไปนะครับในวันอังคารที่21กันยายนนะครับเวลา 19:30 น.นะฮะเราจะมีคุณมิสเตอร์กิฟต์คิลเลียนนะครับซึ่งเป็น International Director ของโรงเรียน Nebraska Christian School จากประเทศสหรัฐอเมริกานะครับซึ่งเป็นโรงเรียนประจำขนาดเล็กแต่มีข้อดีแล้วก็ข้อน่าสนใจต่างๆมากมายเลยนะครับเราจะมาพูดคุยกันนะครับในหัวข้อของข้อดีของการอยู่โรงเรียนประจำนะครับ นอกจากนั้นยังมีการแถมนิดหน่อยก็คือว่าเด็กนักเรียนต่างชาติจะเตรียมตัวยังไงในการขอทุนการศึกษากับโรงเรียนในต่างประเทศนะครับและหลังจากนั้นทางคุณกิฟต์ก็จะมาอธิบายในส่วนที่เกี่ยวข้องกับโรงเรียนครับผมสำหรับวันนี้นะครับก็ต้องขอบคุณผู้ชมนะครับผู้ปกครองนักเรียนทุกท่านนะครับที่นั่งชมกันในวันนี้นะครับแต่ว่าหวังว่าจะเป็นประโยชน์กับน้องๆและก็ผู้ปกครองในการตัดสินใจในการไปเรียนต่อที่แคนาดากันนะครับยังไงสำหรับวันนี้ผมขอบคุณนะครับแล้วพบกันในวันอังคารที่ 21 กันยายนนะครับเวลา 20:30 น.ขอบคุณครับสวัสดีครับ